Okay, so I promise you a guest, and I'm joined today by Clwb Droed the Rhyl 1879 manager Gareth Thomas. Rhyl play in the North Wales Coast Football Association East Premier Division, which is the fourth tier of the Welsh Pyramid. Gareth very kindly responded to an unsolicited Twitter message and agreed to speak to me today. Thank you very much for your time today, Gareth. How are you?
Yeah, all good this end, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining me today again. First question we ask each guest. What sports do you enjoy and what teams do you follow?
Okay, well, I'm from quite a sporting background family-wise. So main hobbies for me are football and cricket, and I'm heavily involved also in the youth setup at Holcombe United as chairman and the under-13 coach. But as I say, football and cricket are what I'm interested in. Any other sports really, I'm not that fussed about. I can take or leave.
Fair enough. And you're an Everton fan, is that correct?
Yes, Everton, and I take we go to Everton and Wrexham when possible, and back watching Wales again now with my son, who's 13. He's 12. He's absolutely football and cricket mad. He plays a lot of cricket, but he loves going to watch football. He plays for the under-13s, but if he had the choice of watching or playing, I think he'd rather go watching.
Yeah, I think we were all football mad at that age, to be honest with you. Did you guys have tickets to go to the Euros last summer / this summer? Or?
So yeah, we were going to one of the games, but I'll be honest with you. I followed Wales early from, so I think my dad took me to the first game in '79, and then I followed them abroad. But I stopped really going abroad in about 2007 once we had a family and that, and I'm taking him because he wants to go, and the one game, that was the reason. But obviously we won't be going. But at the end of the day, now it's becoming nigh on impossible to take him to the games with Wales, not because of tickets, but because of when they're scheduled. How are you meant to take an 11-year-old to football games down South Wales and pull him out of school nearly every game for the game on a Monday night or a Sunday, Monday, Thursday? It's ridiculous. So, hopefully I can knock that habit out of him, because I've lost interest in taking him out of school. I don't think it's right.
No, it's not fair considering, me and my friends always feel, considering the amount of football fans that do make the journey down from North Wales especially, could they not move a few of the smaller games back up to the race course? Or, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be another
it's not
halfway
fair
up.
to make. I'm not bothered, I quite enjoy going to Cardiff, Swansea and that, but it's just, he's 12 now, and when he's saying, can we go to that game? And I'm going, well, that'd be a day and a half off school. That's a day and a half off school. By the time you've added them up with where you want to go, and if you took him to an away game, it's bloody, they've lost 2 or 3 weeks school in a year. That's without him going ill, and especially now with him not being in school for near 2 years, that's got to be knocked in the head.
Yeah, definitely. It's a case of when they'll allow fans back into the bigger games as well, I guess. But that's more of a debate for another day, I think. But
yeah, definitely.
hopefully soon. But I'd be surprised if there was anything in time for the Euros. But I mean, it's going to be all televised anyway, so I don't really see what the issue is. But doing it between 12 different countries during a pandemic, that was a bit of a hopeful attempt.
But I think it's a hopeful attempt anyway. Why do they need to change it? Just give it to one country for 1 year and change it again. The whole professional game is starting to lose appeal. If you ask me, it's I don't know. It's just, it's TV saturated now. And I get we're in a COVID crisis, but how many decent games are on the telly? Players are diving. It's just it's not for me at the moment. It's just now it's going, I think, going the wrong way. You only have to look at some of the games you're seeing, and some of the players are awful, and not being funny. They're being brought from the other side of the world, and they're being paid, they're paid ridiculous fees, and, you keep hearing about all these great academies, and, kids are getting pinched at 6 and 7 and going to academies. Well, how many of them are going to get an actual game? They'd rather pay 30 million and bring someone in from Colombia who's bloody rubbish, but they get games in the Premiership and the British kids don't. So I don't know where the professional game's going.
I think the oversaturation is definitely a big element of. I agree with you. I'm sort of becoming a bit disenfranchised with the more professional game. Do begrudgingly watch Arsenal, but apart from that, like there's football on every day now. It's just turned into a bit of a soap opera. I get with the current circumstances and that they're trying to sort of stagger the games out a bit more so more people can watch it because there's going to be people with less to do. But yeah, I just like you said with the just not utilizing youth players. There's such good youth systems in sort of the four home nations here. Why would you go abroad, spend 30, 40 million when, especially when money's been tight the last few years, just the amount of money that's gone into the game over the past 10, 20 years. I remember when an expensive transfer fee was like 30 million or something like that. That's standard what you'll pay for like a bog standard English player or sort of
Yeah,
young
it's
prospect
poor.
from continental
But
Europe. How has it got to that stage now? That's what I
but
don't
it's
understand.
even if you look at this week, the Champions League games. Well, if they're not fit to, if clubs can't travel to Germany for the game, scrap the tournament for the year.
Yeah.
Is it that important? So they can't go to Germany because they're worried about it, but they're flying both sides to Budapest or something. It's the whole professional football has got to be losing appeal, and I'll be in. Next year I think it'll be really critical. I think if when you can go back to watching football, hopefully, and going into grounds, I've got mates. You'll have mates now. They're all season tickets. But if you support one of the top clubs, your day out was a Saturday, going on a beer, watching a game. How many games are on a Saturday? 3 o'clock now. Who wants to be going to watch a game 5 o'clock down in London on
Yeah.
a Sunday when you've got to get back for work on a Monday or a Tuesday, Monday night game at 8 o'clock kickoff? You've got the proper football fan is getting taken out of the game in my eyes.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. But I'd like to think hopefully a lot of the people will vote with their feet when we are allowed back into stadiums because you do. I think on social media especially do see a lot more people vocalising support towards going to see grassroots teams or lower tier football clubs.
Well,
It's
let's
just a
hope
kit.
so.
They always do the same with support live music, go and see a local band in a pub. You might see the next Arctic Monkeys, and then no, I'm a music student. I played in bands. We'll put a show on. You get your mates, your mum because she's elfing load gearing and that, and a few other people, a few drunks propping up the bar. Some people are all talk, but I'd like to think with football fans they will. We wouldn't be talking about this if it was just us two being disenfranchised like this. I think from what I've seen, I feel a lot of people are feeling this way. So, like I said, hopefully they'll vote with their feet and be more
Yeah, let's hope
important
so.
to lower tier clubs, especially nowadays coming back.
Yeah, let's hope so.
So, how did you get into football management initially?
How did I get into football management? Well, I played senior football right the way through. The majority of the time at Holkin, and I broke my fib and tib late on in the 90s, about 96, 97. And I didn't really come back properly after that. And then I was playing for Holkin, and I went as assistant manager under George Selwell. What a great manager he was. He led the village through their most successful time, and it was brilliant. The players he was able to attract. He had lads who played League of Wales who were on their way down. He managed to get them to the club, when we had a really good side. And then George announced he was stepping down. So we're being local. I was sort of pressurised into taking it to try and keep the side together. But we lost a fair few players then. That was when clubs were starting to pay locally. So we were easy to get cherry picked. We lost a few players. But I stayed for a couple of years there. But you were fighting a losing battle, every year you'd lose another couple of the local ones. And at the end of the day, I just decided enough was enough. In it was 2005, I think. I'd done about 3 years at Holkin, and we done all right. We got, I remember getting to the final of the North Wales Challenge, which was a big cup at the time when Rhyl won everything that year, and we lost to Rhyl in the final at Conway about 6-0. And we got a couple of top six finishes in the Cymru Alliance, which was good at the time.
Oh, it's really good.
But you were treading water and it was going nowhere. So so I I moved then. I went to one of this, and just from there, I've been in management since as I say, since about 2000. I think it was 2001. I actually took over at Hulking as manager.
Oh, that's good. So, was it? I think Hulkin. You've managed is it Denby Town and
Denby, one of this Buckley.
Oh, Buckley. That was it.
Yeah, and FC Nomad. Well, the now defunct FC Nomads.
Oh yeah. And so, what were the main factors behind you taking on the manager role at Rhyl?
Well, when I left Conway, I said that was enough. 20 years of managing was more than enough, and I was happy to step aside. Then thought I'd done my bit. A lot of things I don't agree with, and I'm quite, if I don't agree with it, I stick to my principles. And these coaching badges are a prime example for me. How anyone who's 19, 20, 25 want to manage football when you should be playing is beyond. And so I was happy to take a break, but then the real job come up, and I had a lot of managers ringing me saying, you need to go for that. You need to get back in the game. And one thing I wasn't going to do if I come back into the game, I wasn't going to be a director of football. Because as I say, I'd done that trying to help Denby 2 years, for 2 years, and I think it was a waste of 2 years, really. People have got, if you've all got different ideas, it doesn't work. So I spoke to Rhyl, and once I was interested, I started speaking to lads who I thought I could take with me. And when the job, was advertised and it was offered to me, it was a no-brainer. I knew I could get the players. I know it's a brand new challenge, but for me, it was no different the challenge to when I took over at Conway a couple of years ago. They didn't have a player. I think in Conway, in the 18 months I was there, I went through 5 chairmen. It wasn't very stable. So there wasn't a player staying at Conway. There wasn't a player staying at Rhyl. So I knew in my own mind, with the contacts I've got, I knew I'd be able to get a competitive squad available. And after speaking to Adam and Tom, I knew it was the right move to get back involved.
Yep, definitely. Considering the team have only played, is it 5 friendly matches you've done together as a squad, or
5, I think we'd played, yeah.
5, yeah. So considering you've only played the 5 matches, do you feel the squad's beginning to gel as a unit? I'd have to say the last 2 games, I think you beat Rithland 6-2, and there was another, was it 2-0 or 2-1 win? I'd say you're definitely moving in the right direction.
I think it's difficult because of the limitations on what we've been doing up to then. The lads had trained really hard, prior to a ball being kicked when no one knew what was going on. We got the players in. We got nearly every player that we identified to come in first and foremost. So that was a massive bonus. The lads were doing 5K runs, so when we could actually get into kicking a ball, pre-season training, they were fit. So that was the main thing. So it allowed us to concentrate on training. Then it became a bit of hit and miss when the local restrictions come about in October. So we stopped a lot of training. All I was doing the Denbighshire lads. I was doing the Flintshire lads, but it wasn't great because we couldn't really do a lot. And then obviously we got back to playing, and they were all right, the games, but at the end of the day, there was still no insight to when the season had started, and you were only allowed a certain amount of players. So we were mixing and matching the team. So I think they were gelling. Not really. I think, there were signs that things were starting to happen, but they're not proper games. And I don't know, we didn't have the same 11 out once because we were trying to make sure everyone got minutes. We were making subs to make sure people got minutes. So I think there was a lot to come from them. But there were some encouraging signs.
Definitely, I think especially with Rithland being a fellow Tier 4 side, they're in the same division as so I think that bodes quite well for the future, especially. But it's just about getting that. What's the word? Sort of getting that stability in the team, sort of knowing. I mean, you probably know your strongest 11 already. You've trained with the lads for quite a while, but sort of with, I guess currently if you're not playing, so a few lads might get offers from other
Yeah,
places.
I
I
think
think a few lads have actually opted to stay, haven't they?
they
Considering
did.
offers
They
from.
did opt to stay, and then the transfer window shut, and then all, as we all knew would happen, all football below tiers 3, tiers 2 has been wrote off for the season, which is fair enough. You know, at the end of the day, it's a difficult job what they're all trying to do to make sure everyone's safe and whether there can be any football. But I think what we've done so far, yeah, it's building blocks, but I think we can't get ahead of ourselves now. You know, a lot of the lads have said they're staying, which is good, but we'll have to see what happens. You know, at the end of the day, no one knows how long this pandemic's going to be about for. No one knows how football and when it'll return at our levels at the end of the day. I think a lot of it will be down to how quick they can roll these jabs out, in my opinion. You know, who knows? With the players are there, they're all willing to stay, or the majority have said they're willing to stay, which is good. So it gives us a better idea of where we were at 12 months ago. But it's just a case of when we will return to training. You know, obviously, I think every club in Wales and England really will be looking at how they adapt the pre-season when you've not really had a season for 12 months. So it'll have to all be longer. I've no doubt there'll have to be more friendly games than the pre-season's ever had before. So it's just a case of when it'll all return. And at the end of the day, I personally can't see that happening for a while yet.
No, I have to agree with you. I think it is a way off, but like you said, the jabs, sort of the vaccine rollout, does give you a bit of hope going forwards. It's just a case of getting that out really, and hoping they work. Whatever. I'm not going to pretend to have any medical insight. There's one person who does medicine in the family. His mum, and she's a chiropodist. So that's why I did flinch when you said about your tib and fib going. So, but apart from that, yeah, it would just be great to be able to go to a game again as a fan, I have to say. I don't really go to big games that much anymore. I've seen Arsenal a handful of times.
That's why you don't go to big games.
With the locality as well, it's much easier to go to Wrexham. So
Yeah,
Bellevue's literally, it was on the way to school for me. So it's about 15 minutes sort of over the Tenerife Bridge, and I'm right there.
good.
It's great. I have to say. Next question I got for you. I did read a couple of interviews in preparation for this. I saw one, I think it was Adam Roach, that said there's a 5-year plan that you're looking at to get Rhyl back into the top tier of the Welsh footballing pyramid. How important do you think it'd be for the town and everyone involved in the club to get a Rhyl team back into the JD Cymru Premier?
I think it's massive. I think the work Adam does for the club is unbelievable. And
Yeah.
you know, the old club folding was sad, but for the determination they've shown to start up a new club, get it up and running, and make sure, and the plans that they've got in place for the club, hopefully won't be too impacted by what's happened with COVID. But you know, they're working their socks off behind the scenes, and at the end of the day, new club, old club, however you look at it, it's got a history. The old club, it had the following, and we're just hoping that this new club, that the buy-in will be there when we start off. And I think it's massive for the town and the area, and for
Yeah.
Welsh football. You know, it's Welsh football needs football clubs with fans.
Yeah, definitely. You need football clubs with that iconic. I mean, I know it's a Phoenix club started in place of Real FC, but you still got that history of the title winning season. I was quite young when it happened, but I still remember seeing the pictures on the TV, everything like that. They've had the few European games. I think played like some Maccabi Haifa. They're still at Bellevue. Was it? I think it was the Nomads. They played Kilmarnock a couple of years ago. Was
That's
it?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had a mate who was working in Weatherspoons at the time, and he said it was absolutely heaving with Kilmarnock fans in Real Town Centre, and he clocked off just before the game. He was trying to scalp a ticket on his way down, the cheeky bugger, but said it was an absolute party. Like half of the Kilmarnock fans had come down on the train just to have a pint in the town, and I think they won the second leg actually, didn't they? Because it was a Europa League qualifier.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, things like that are good for the town, aren't they? It's money it's going to need coming into the town. You know, like everywhere is after what's gone on. Whatever you can get into that town's got to be good for the area.
Definitely, I'd say the pubs were one of the well, not so much anymore, but the pubs were one of the few booming industries in Rhyl. So always good to see them get a bit more cash. With the increased financial strain that clubs are facing due to the circumstances over the last year or so, do you think a lot of other teams could potentially face having to cease operations as Rhyl had to, or
I don't know. I don't. I think you know this will change. This whole pandemic will change football for across it across all you know the four nations. If you ask me, and I don't think it'll change it for the better either. I think what might happen, and hopefully it'll happen, is a bit of reality will come into non-league football with wages and players having to play now, you know, for next to nothing.
yeah,
But who can tell? Because unfortunately, while you know we made it, so everyone might get COVID jabs. You may be able to return to playing football and that. But if there's still social distancing is still within football or within you know the world, as they say, who's to say that supporters will be back inside the grounds? And I think if that doesn't happen, I think a lot of clubs will go to the wall.
yeah, it's a worrying time at the moment. With
Yeah.
would you I've had a bit of a weird idea I've always thought of. In American football, for example, or like in a lot of American sports and some other sports, they have salary caps on the teams. Not so much for the lower league teams, maybe, but I've always thought with the Premier League teams, especially, they could introduce a similar thing. 'Cause, in the NFL, for example, you have your younger players on like rookie contracts. They're the ones you've just signed out of colleges or they're in the first to second season. They're on the lower amount. And then you have sort of your average squad players on, it's called like a franchise tag contract. So they all get an average salary for the team. So it's sort of fair in that way. And then you have three like star players, like say a star quarterback or a running back or something. They're on sort of pay whatever you have to pay to attract them to the team. With I mean, being an Arsenal fan, we've only just managed to shift Mesut Ozil. He was getting paid 350k a week to basically sit on his backside and play video games for the last 16 to 18 months. I don't know how you feel about maybe introducing a salary cap to the higher tiers of football, but I feel like it could be discussed at least.
No, I don't think that'll ever happen, will it? At the end of the day, at the
No,
end of the day, it's like you said, it wasn't Mesut Ozil that asked for that money, was it? Someone daft enough who's in a role like you probably don't need that. Clubs is handing them contracts out.
that's the other thing.
Surely your manager should be saying who he wants and how much he's willing to pay. And I
Gets
think that's the problem at the top end. It's saturated with people in roles that you don't need that football club.
yeah, gets polluted by the agents as well. I don't know,
Yeah,
call themselves super agents. Some of them nowadays just absolute leeches, just making money off other people's talent. It's quite sad, really, but
yeah.
it's another
But
can of worms
yeah,
we probably shouldn't open.
that's it.
Only got a couple of questions left for you. I've bent your ear for quite a while today, so do appreciate you taking your time
No
again.
problem.
Bellevue's hosted the Rhyl side since 1901. I didn't pull that off the top of my head. I looked that up actually. It was I think it's on one of the gates, is it? I think I seem to recall. But how important was it that Club Droed, the Rhyl, were able to secure Bellevue as the stadium for the team going forward?
I think it was massive for the club to be able to keep hold of the stadium. You know, that's one of the for myself as a manager, that's one of the easy sells when we go after the players is when you can say what we're playing on, what surface we'll be playing on. But you know, as you say, it's got a history. It's a great setup as well. Let's not forget how good the setup is. So yeah, I think it was vital for them that they had that to be able to get hold of and go back.
I think it fits the very definition of a proper football stadium, in my opinion. You've
Yeah,
got the nice old school turnstiles and then this rubbish barcode, scan your ticket nonsense. Proper little place where you can get a program, just a nice little stall, little bar, little little chip van, and that you get pies and whatnot. Funny enough, the first Rhyl game me and my family actually went to, it was one of the Rhyl banger games years ago, where it used to be heaving and they'd have the coppers down the one end to sort of separate the fans out. We'd never been to a football game before. I was quite young. My parents didn't really understand or like football. They just thought, oh, it's a local team, we'll take him to shut him up. And we knew the bloke on the turnstiles, and he let us in the one end. And when sat down, it was about 10 minutes into the game, everyone around us cheering for Bangor City. Didn't twig it. We start cheering for Rhyl, and we keep getting these dirty, like gonna murder your looks off people. And then we start spotting over by the dugouts and that on the other stand opposite. Loads of people we recognise are sat in the main stand across the center. Oh, Christ! Have we just like shoehorned ourselves into the wrong end at a Rhyl banger game? I don't know how we didn't get beaten up or anything, but I managed to persuade the coppers to like switch sides at half time. So that was a fun first memory of Bellevue for me. But just having it next to school as well. When I went to the old Rhyl High, you'd walk past it every day, just bathing there in the sun. It's just such a great. It's almost an iconic part of the town, isn't it? I know Ryl's only a small town, but it's one of the few fixtures we have that really stands out,
Yeah,
I'd say.
yeah, definitely.
Okay, I've only got one final question for you.
Go on
We're a
then.
fan podcast, I have to say, so do like to do a bit of a fun one at the end. As a fan, what is your greatest Welsh sporting memory?
Memory.
It
Obviously, you
doesn't necessarily have to be one you went to, but it can be any memory that just evokes
as
Welsh
a Welsh
sport for you.
supporter, you can't beat the Euros. But at the end of the day, I think, and I think it's a bit more poignant as it stands. Obviously, I lost my dad last week, and we've been doing eulogies this week. Now, my biggest, thought of when we first started watching Wales back in 1979, I went to my first game with my dad at the racecourse against West Germany, and we used to go to all. He used to make sure when Wales were playing at Wrexham when we were kids, and I think I was 6 when I went to my first game. We didn't miss one Wales game at Wrexham, and I would say those are the memories for me of the best times following Wales, even though they weren't great and they didn't win many. The Euros were great. Went there with my mates, but at the end of the day, I think it's the early years watching Wales. 79, first game, going to my first away game without my dad in 89. I went to Germany, to Cologne, to watch Wales and follow them abroad for a few years after that. I think they were good days, not like now when you go and it's absolute chaos trying to do anything without many following. And that's great, but at the end of the day, I think the early years following Wales were what I remember. With pride and joy, really. And
Yeah,
I think 2007 we all went, and that's when you realise you're getting old and it's not for you. I think 2007 we all went to Cyprus, and it was not just all the lads that went then. We'd all started getting married and that, so we had a week's holiday over there when we went to, I think it was Nicosia. We went to see Wales, and they got battered 3-1, and that was sort of the last of the travelling regular. And but other than that, yeah, I'd say that's the main thing. Watching Wales in the early years with my dad, all the memories. I remember the first game on the racecourse. We were in the border stand. It was known then, and I just remember as a kid I just couldn't believe how big the flags were that the Germans had. They were massive on poles. You can't take anything into the ground now, so how the hell you'd get one of them in on them bloody big flag poles that used to have? That sticks out. England when they beat them there, Spain game. Don't get me wrong, there's some awful ones as well. I remember the Russia game where you were just packed like sardines in a 0-0 draw in 82. Just they're the good times, the early years, I think, watching
yeah.
Wales.
Yeah, no, I've never been lucky enough to get to an away game myself. We did have tickets for 2 backy games, but we may as well take the refund. It's not going to happen. So.
No, it's not going to happen.
But like you said, that first memory of going to a Wales game, I've only been to the one full international. It was a qualifier against Austria in 2018, where Woodburn stuck the goal in like 78th minute. We were in the Canton stand, and so I remember at the start, the flag came down. We'd had a few pints, completely forgot that happened at the start of the game. So that nearly knocked us all off our feet to begin with. And then we just standing for 90 minutes, as you should be at the football, singing.
Yeah,
And
that was
just being in the crowd when the anthem swelled up and the ball came to him, it was like one of those slow motion moments you see
yeah,
happening in real life. It's something
that
to
was
behold.
that was the first game I took Aaron
Oh, yeah.
to my lad, the
Oh,
first Wales game. That was it, 2017, wasn't it, when they won?
that was one. Yeah.
1-0. Yeah, that was the first game he went to. So he would have been, he's 12 now. So you're talking, he'd have been 7. And I just remember taking him there, and we stayed down, and me and him, and met a couple of the lads up here who had kids in the day. We went to get them something to eat and a few drinks, and then I said, right, we're going to meet all the lads now that I normally go with. I remember taking him to one of the pubs, and all the lads are outside, and his eyes are like lit up as if to think, what the hell have you brought me to here, before we went into the game. No, good times, and I hope to have a few more of them with him at some stage.
Definitely. It's good to see the football being passed down the generations as well.
Well,
It's going to be memories that if he does something like this in the future, these are going to be the memories he talks about when he's
yeah,
talking to his
definitely,
kids about football, getting them into it. So,
definitely. But let's hope we've got some football to go back to.
oh, definitely. Thank you so much for your time today, Gareth. Really appreciate you joining me.
No problem.
And I really hope to be able to come to a real game next season, only down the road. So I've got no excuse to pop my head in, to be honest with you. So we're all talking about supporting grassroots football and lower tier football. So let's actually do it.
Yeah,
When we can go back in the grounds, put some action to the words.
good
Cheers for
stuff.
joining me anyway, mate. You have a lovely day. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.